Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that, honestly, sinks so many business initiatives: data governance. I know, it sounds super complex, maybe even a little boring, but stick with me. We're going to reframe this whole thing from a massive political headache into something you can actually solve: an engineering project.
All right, so let's just get right into it. Why do so many of these data governance projects just fail? I mean, companies pour tons of time and money into trying to get their data in order, and what happens? The projects stall out or they just completely collapse. So what's going on here? What's the common thread? Why is this so incredibly hard to get right?
Well, a lot of the time, the issue is how we even approach the problem in the first place. And I think a really good way to visualize this is to think of data governance like you're building a pyramid, right? The big goal is to get that perfect, shiny capstone right at the very top. But the way most companies try to build it, well, it's just fundamentally broken.
So here's what happens. Most companies start building this pyramid completely backwards, from the top down. They'll appoint some high-level data governance council, that's our capstone, and then they'll assign a bunch of data stewards. And right away, there are these huge expectations for deliverables. But here's the catch. They haven't provided any of the tools or the basic foundation needed for anyone to succeed. So what happens? The whole thing just inevitably collapses under its own weight.
And this right here, this is the absolute heart of the problem. When you start with a big management structure, but you have zero foundation of actual facts, guess what? Every single decision becomes subjective. It's all about who has the most influence. The whole process just gets completely bogged down in political turf wars and personal opinions, all because there's no hard, measurable data to guide the conversation. It's all just talk.
Okay, so if starting at the top is clearly the wrong move, how do we actually build this pyramid the right way? You guessed it, we have to start from the ground up. We need to build a really solid foundation, and that foundation rests on two absolutely critical pillars.
Pillar number one is something called Master Data Management, or MDM for short. Really, all this is about is creating consistency and precision. It's the nitty-gritty work of getting everyone in the organization to agree on the basics. What do we actually mean when we say customer? What is a product? How do all these things relate? The goal is to create one single reliable source of truth that everyone, and I mean everyone, can trust.
I love this quote because it's a perfect analogy. Think of MDM as a Rosetta Stone for your entire company. You've got the sales department speaking one language, marketing speaking another, finance a third, all with their own systems and definitions. MDM is what allows them to finally speak the same data language. It's the key that translates all that organizational chaos into pure clarity.
And our second foundational pillar? Data quality. Now listen, this isn't about going out and buying some fancy, expensive tool. It's about establishing the processes and the techniques to constantly measure, monitor, and actually improve your data. You can really think of it as the engine that's going to power this whole entire data governance effort.
Okay, so we've got our two pillars for the foundation: master data management and data quality. Awesome. But how do we connect them? A foundation isn't really complete until you have that keystone piece that locks everything together and makes it strong. For us, that keystone is a really practical but super powerful tool.
The solution is something called a metadata mart. And hey, don't let that technical name throw you off. It's actually a pretty simple idea. It's basically a small, super focused data warehouse that only stores information about your data. We're talking profiling stats, quality scores, that kind of thing. The really important part is that it's historical. This lets you track the health of your data over time and actually see if the changes you're making are working. You can see real improvement. And what's so cool about this is that it's not just some random niche idea. It's actually a recognized best practice. You've got industry experts like this analyst from Gartner who are pushing for this exact kind of scoped down, manageable approach. It's all about getting those quick wins, proving value early instead of trying to boil the entire ocean with some massive project right from day one.
Okay. This is where it all comes together. This is where the magic really happens. Because a metadata mart lets you make all those invisible data problems visible. So let's see what happens when we take that metadata and build a really simple data quality dashboard. We're about to turn all those vague complaints like our data is bad into cold, hard, solvable engineering facts.
So to make this super concrete, let's just focus on one single data column that pretty much every business has: the zip code. You are going to be amazed at how quickly we can find specific, actionable problems just by looking at this one little thing.
And there it is. Take a look.
This dashboard gives us an instant at-a-glance health check of our zip code column. Now, some of the metrics look okay, right? But your eyes are immediately drawn to those two big red flags, those two major problems. The single most popular value is 1876, and the most common format or pattern is just 4 digits.
So you might be looking at this and thinking, okay, a bunch of numbers, so what? But these are not just abstract stats. No way. They point directly to real-world business problems. And even better, they give us a crystal-clear path to actually fixing them. So let's translate what this table is really telling us.
All right, so let's break this down. What did we really just learn? First, we saw that the zip code 1876 is the most common value in our entire customer database. That is a massive red flag. It's almost certainly a default value someone programmed in years ago. Second, we know the most common format is 4 digits, which, is not a valid US zip code. So think about the business impact for a second. This could mean thousands of marketing mailers are literally going nowhere, just wasting money. But here's the real breakthrough. We have just transformed that vague, unhelpful complaint of our address data is bad into a super precise, measurable set of tasks. An engineer can now be told, hey, find all the records with zip code 1876 and flag them. And while you're at it, build a new rule to stop 4-digit SIPs from ever getting in again. See, that is a solvable engineering project. It's not some endless, draining political debate.
And this ability, this power to generate simple facts like that, it completely changes the entire conversation. Data governance stops being about arguments and opinions and starts being what it should be, an engineering effort. So you can see the two paths pretty clearly, right? On one side, you have the old way. It starts with politics, it creates these vague expectations, and it pretty much always leads to stalled projects. But the new way, the bottom-up way, it's completely different. It starts with facts and measurement. It defines clear, solvable problems, and it drives actual, continuous improvement. The bottom line, it's faster, it's way more achievable, and here's the kicker, it actually works. And maybe the most empowering part of all this is that you don't have to go out and buy some massive, crazy expensive software suite to get started. The truth is, the skills and the capabilities you need to build a metadata mart and a dashboard like the one we saw, they probably already exist in your business. Just look at the teams who build your data warehouses or handle your data integrations. They know how to do this stuff.
So here's the big takeaway. By flipping that pyramid on its head and building your foundation on hard, measurable facts, you basically take the politics right out of the equation. You can finally make real sustainable progress on your data quality and governance goals. And that really just leaves us with one final thought, one question for you to take back to your team. What could you and your organization achieve if every single discussion about data was about solving problems instead of just winning arguments?